Keith Pitt, good to see you. I want to ask you first about nuclear. We finally see Angus Taylor acquiescing to having a committee in Parliament to look at the viability of nuclear. Is this what you were calling for? Are you satisfied?
Well, it's not a matter of being satisfied or acquiescing. This is about the realities of life, Laura. I mean, for your viewers, I think the important part of the information is that the technology has moved on. We are not talking about technology which was developed in the 60s, which is what Fukushima was constructed under, for example. We are talking about small modular reactors, any number of changes around the technology itself. And I just think it's time that we have an adult conversation with the Australian people. Things have changed, things have moved on. As members of Parliament, well, we need to inform ourselves.
So what will this committee actually look at?
So what's been directed to the committee in a letter from Minister Taylor is that they look at the economic piece, the environment piece, health and safety, of course, and whether there's potential. This is about opportunity. Now, it may not result in reactors being built in Australia. There is currently a moratorium. There is no plans to change that. But this is a massive industry around the world, which we've effectively locked ourselves out of. I don't see any reason why our universities, our industries, our manufacturers, our processors can't be involved in what is an industry that is utilised in more than 36 countries around the world. In fact, we are the only OECD country that doesn't utilise this type of technology.
So why don't we utilise that technology? You mentioned the ban that is looking like it's not going to be lifted at all. Would more nuclear power, a nuclear reactor, bring down power prices in Australia?
Well, this is a very long-term prospect. The Institution of Engineers has said it could take as long as 20 years to develop this type of industry. So I just want to say to your viewers, regardless of the scare campaign and tactics from the Labor Party, we are looking very far into the future as to whether there is an opportunity here. And one of the things the committee will look at, obviously, will be cost. But associated with that capital build, you don't have continuous trains dragging in coal. You don't have all of the issues around pumped hydro and all those types of storages. So I think it is time to look at this with clear eyes and an open mind and see whether there are opportunities for the Australian nation and the Australian people.
So how long would it take, you say 20 years to start this industry? Why is it so difficult to convince not only Labor, as you put it, but your own colleagues are not quite on board with you on this? Why?
Well, this is about information. And as I've said, when technology changes, we have to be willing to look at what that technology is, whether there is an application in this country. And at risk of using the wrong term, it is about critical mass. Because for an industry to be successful, you need to have enough of it in your country to warrant its continuous use, its development. You need to build all that technical capacity, including the education piece. So this is a long-term prospect. This is not about short-term opportunity. But as members of Parliament, I think that is one of our roles. We need to look to the future for Australia and where those opportunities might come from.
As always, the debate does focus around where nuclear reactors would be. Would you be happy to have one in your electorate?
Oh, Laura, this is a question I get all the time. That is way, way in the future. This is one step on a journey of 1,000 miles. And once again, I'd say to the Labor Party, I mean, they're out there running their scare campaign about, coastal catchments and you have to be near the ocean and you'll have to place one of these things in your local coastal town. Well, my understanding is that's just not true. I mean, this is the purpose of actually having this inquiry. If we look at SMRs and the different cooling types and their passive safety systems, well, basically they can be put pretty much anywhere as long as it's geologically stable. So I think there is no decisions being made. No one's even thinking about where we might put these things. This is quite simply a conversation with the Australian people about what they want. And I think they're smart enough to make up their own minds if we give them the information.
Sure, but do you think your constituents would want one in your electorate?
Well, it's not about the people in my electorate in terms of whether we build a reactor here. Fundamentally, we're prone to earthquakes. So, I mean, that's just not a conversation that we can have into the future.
Yes, but if you want to combat the scare campaign, as you say, this is always where the conversation ends up. So would you be willing to have a nuclear reactor in your electorate? And if not, why not?
Well, as I've said, Laura, I live in an area that's prone to earthquakes. I don't think anyone would build those types of facilities in this location. And that's not a cop-out, that's just a statement of fact. So I think we need to be very cautious about this campaign to go and drop things into letterboxes saying you've got a reactor coming to you. I mean, Minister Cameron Dick in Queensland's been out talking about three-headed turtles. I mean, what a lot of nonsense. I think he should spend more time informing himself than trying to scare the horses. Surely we can have an adult conversation about a difficult issue. I think the Australian people expect it of us, and I think we need to continue to do that.
More immediately, your government is focused on gas at the moment. How will you bring down prices?
Well, obviously, if there's more gas available in terms of a domestic reserve, that does affect domestic prices. And right now, electricity costs are reliant on those peakers, those gas plants, and what they cost to operate. But I think there is some really critical issues in terms of the NEM across the eastern states. I think we have states like Victoria and certainly South Australia under the previous Labor government who've done, in my view, really dumb things. If you make 50% of your generating capacity intermittent, without backup and reliant only on the weather, well, there's no doubt you're going to have problems, and that's exactly where we're at. So they've relied on other states to provide that reliability. That is no longer available. And this is now a critical issue. It is not just about cost, it's about ensuring that our economy is strong and safe into the future.
OK, just one final question. Extinction Rebellion has been causing a lot of havoc a little bit further south from where you are at the moment in Brisbane. 72 people arrested overnight. What's going on?
Well, I won't name them. I think I'll call them the Numpty Rebellion, Laura. These are people who simply haven't accepted the umpire's decision, and there's dozens of umpires, whether it's at a state or federal level, whether we're talking about water or infrastructure planning, whether you're looking at all the approval processes that those types of companies have to go through. That is the purpose of government, and quite simply they haven't accepted the umpire's decision, and they're causing grief to legitimate businesses and people going about their everyday activities. I don't think the people of Queensland will put up for that for much longer.
Keith Pitt, appreciate your time this morning.
Mate, great to be with you.